So welcome one more time. The Balkan Museum Network is a proud partner of the Shift project. We are just one of the 13 partners of this Horizon project, which is ending on 1st of October this year. Shift is an acronym for a much longer project name. It means Metamorphosis of Culture Heritage into Augmented Hypermedia Assets for Enhancing Accessibility and Inclusion. In the name itself, you can maybe already see that it's a collaboration between companies, universities, and cultural heritage institutions. And together as a consortium, as partners, we are developing new IT tools. And with these tools, we want to increase access to cultural heritage for all audience members, and especially for disabled people. In the next couple of months, the project will be organizing 4 pilot showcases, pilot exhibitions that will show how we are using the newly developed Shift tools. These tools are harnessing artificial intelligence and machine learning. And these exhibitions will be held in Bucharest, Budapest, Berlin, and Kняževac, Serbia. I invite you to follow closely Shift project on all our social media channels that are available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but also on the website, so you can learn more about the 7 Shift tools which will be showcased in the exhibitions. This is already a series webinar. This is our 7th webinar, and today's topic will discuss monetization and the importance of digital assets in galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. We are focusing on the financial management, but also funding strategies and cost optimization. Today's webinar will examine how institutions balance their cultural mission with financial sustainability through effective monetizations and revenue streaming models. Also very much important to address some key ethical considerations. So we are looking forward to the session that will cover cost management, also some best practices for funding digital initiatives, and at the end you will have the opportunity to ask some questions. Today's presenter is Dr. Hristina Mikic. She's Associate Professor of Finance and Creative Economy at Metropolitan University in Belgrade, Serbia. She's also the head of research and development at the Institute for Creative Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Dr. Hristina Mikic is an experienced consultant. She has been working with the UNESCO Institute for Statistics, World Bank, Council of Europe, United Nations Development Programme, British Council, European Commission, and many other developmental projects working on creative economy in several countries. So she's our expert in policy planning, research and analysis on local and regional development of creative economy with a particular focus on job creation, economy fairness, and improvement of economic well-being in cultural and creative industries. We are so happy to have Dr. Hristina Mikic in the Balkan Museum Network to use her expertise that she will share today with us in this webinar presentation, and also after the presentation in the opportunity to ask some questions. Hristina, the floor is yours, and if you have any technical problems, we are here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Aida. Hello, everybody, and my name is Hristina Mikic, and I'm teaching finance and creative economy, as the Aida said. And in this project, I also developed the questionnaire for assessment, the monetization model for using Shift technology, but also to see is there any possibility and what will be possible model of monetization of digital content which can be created by the Shift technology. I organized my presentation in the 2 parts. The first is to explain some issue and experience in different monetization model what is the main cost driver for cultural heritage institution when we're thinking what will be, for example, acceptable price for us to use some technology or to charge our digital services. And the second part of my presentation will be dedicated to the discussion of questionnaire for monetization of shift technology and content, which you receive, and some of you also fill in the questionnaire and give us the answer. And also, I would like to discuss with you and to see what is your experience in monetization of digital content, but also what is the way in your institution and how you are using digital technology. So the first step in understanding monetization model is to know what is the dimension and element which consists this, let's say, monetization model. The first, the digital assets, which is new in cultural institution, because usually in finance we are dealing with some kind of physical assets, and the focus of finance and accounting is also on physical assets. But now there is the new approach which came through the digital transformation of cultural content, that the cultural institution is more and more facing with the digital assets. And here is one which is accounting financial definition of digital assets, that is all content services, experience, data, system, and technology, which
Excuse
was...
me, can you just share the presentation, because currently
Yes.
it's not shared.
Okay. You can give me again the share option, because I lost my share option. I don't know why.
Says that you are presenter. So you are presenter.
No, I don't see my, just a moment. Okay.
If you want, we can share.
Yes, okay.
Did you manage?
Do you see now?
No.
I share my desktop. I share my desktop.
Can you leave it? It's the third slide.
Okay.
Okay. So we see now Leila is sharing. Thank you, Leila. The third slide.
The first one, for example. Maybe it is better PDF, the version.
Yeah, this is PDF. Just go one page up. So page up and page down. Great. This is the third one. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So
sorry to interrupt you, just to have this better following.
Okay. Now I probably can close this, because I will look at mobile. So, as I mentioned, the first element of monetization model is to define the digital assets, let's say like some intangible properties. And as I said, the digital asset in cultural heritage institution represent all of content services, experience, data, system, and technologies which was built and in the hand of cultural heritage institution. There is the two-way and two function of digital asset in cultural heritage institution. The first one is the preservation, and the second one is the function of presentation of digital heritage assets. And when we are thinking about monetization model, as you saw in the questionnaire, there is the structure of the two questions. The first one is that you are using some software to produce some digital content, but in the same time, you can offer digital content through your own monetization model. So in the sense of preservation, the digital technology can be used for researching, attribution, documenting, organization, different data and similar things. And in the case of presentation, the focusing on access, engagement, visibility, and some educational or cultural experience. There is also different digital types of digital assets which can be produced, such as images, metadata, video, 3D models, virtual exhibition, and similar things. And when we are discussing about digital assets and in general about digitalization in cultural institution, there is always some risk. The first risk and the risk which was very often the topic of discussion is changing in current digital landscape and let's say the digital transformation trends. Why these two risks are important? From example, because public institutions by nature are focused on the public cultural interest and openness, while the infrastructure can be very often in the commercial sector. So, as you know, the format can be changed and frequently changed, and platform can be updated. So, sometimes some digital content which was created maybe can become the inaccessible in the another type. Also. There is the two trends, as I mentioned. The first one is the digital transformation trends for the GLAMs, and there is two which I choose just to mention and to discuss with you. This is which is very actual at the moment. This is the using artificial intelligence tools in the cultural heritage institution. And the second one is also use this tool for creative, immersive cultural experience. So when we are discussing about using artificial intelligence in heritage institution, there is the several way. I just mentioned here some of them, how we can use and how this technology can be useful for us. For example, style analysis tools to identify different characteristics of the art works, or to confirm authenticity or detect different faking the cultural artifacts. The second one can be detecting unknown the cultural heritage through artificial intelligence, curating different cultural content, which is one aspect of the shift technology, which is the topic of this project. In that sense, you can find a lot of examples which are now arise, like digital curator by artificial intelligence, or the chatbot, which you can use during virtual exhibition, or like assistance, or audio storytelling and audio guidelines, and creating different exhibition, animation and multimedia by using the artificial intelligence tools. The next one is the interactive education and application and guides application, when there is the cultural heritage program, which is connected with also with tourism. And when the cultural heritage program can be offered as tourism services or tourism content, you can also use the different artificial intelligence tool for the translation or adoption of different cultural content to the visitors. And also the last one is building and development the cultural program based on visitor analytics. If you use the Google Analytics or the different tools, you can collect a lot of data which show what is the interest and preferences of your visitors, and based on that you can adopt or improve your cultural program. The next one is implementation of immersive technology in the cultural heritage institution. And this is very important and, let's say, the mainstream topic in the field of future development of cultural content and cultural program. And immersive technology probably is not enough implemented in cultural heritage institution, and they cover combination and creative ways of documenting, interpreting, and experiencing sensory diversity of cultural heritage. And here we are coming to the another, let's say, the concept, which is connected with the sensory experience of cultural heritage. This is connected with the way in which the visitor can engage the different sense during the cultural program, then to building interaction with it between the heritage institution, the mass educational or message of heritage program and heritage artifact, including hearing, touching, taste, and smell, and which offer individuals to interact with the heritage artifact and to make their own interpretation of heritage. I put here the two example and tools. One is the Sensory Truth. This is a non-profit organization which use different tools, and examples how you can use the different technology and combine the physical artifact and the technology in creating a sensory cultural heritage program. And the second one is maybe too ambitious example. This is Sensory Museum of Wine in Bordeaux in French. And this is museum which was built by a combination of some physical artifacts and 90% of digital technology. So we can go in the next slide. So this cultural heritage program is totally based on the different experience and different sensory experience of cultural heritage and the story of wine. There is 20 different rooms and experience that you can visit and learn about history of wine in the world, about the wine production, degustation, and the similar things. You have here the link for them. Unfortunately, they are pricing the different services based of this wine museum. Can we just put, this is 2-minute video just to So, as I mentioned, there is a different room in the Sensory Wine Museum, and there is the high level of combination between museum experience and the commercial services, because in the same time, this is the platform for promotion of wine culture. The next slide also show how they use the different artificial, video and multimedia material and different kind of technology to provide the digital curator and digital information and educational content. So, as I mentioned, there is just one problem, because when they are promoting their program, because this is experience, they're using very small part, like some key points of their program to promote on the website, but the whole concept of the sensory heritage, which is based on the different digital tool you can saw on their website, and the explication how they built, all of this experience. What is also important for the digital assets is how we create and manage financial aspect of, let's say, creating digital asset, but also how we update in maintenance and let's say storage our digital assets, and different kind of strategy and policy of creation. The next slide. Different strategy of and policy for creation and management or financial issue of digital portfolios. We call digital asset financial management. In our institution, the digital asset management is not some individual part of financial management, and very often it is part of our usual and everyday activities. And there is the key layer for creating digital asset financial management. The first one is that this management model should be cost effective And the second one is the financial sustainability of this model. Cost effective means that we should achieve outcomes and deliver services in the way which maximize the cultural value and minimize the cost, which is very often quite difficult in cultural institutions because they are based, and an existing model are based on purchasing the different digital services by museum or the cultural heritage institution, or by using infrastructure which is not in the hand of cultural heritage institution or the ministry of culture. So, example of using and optimizing the cost of digitalization is using open source digital asset management system or the free platform for data storages and similar things compared to the commercial platforms. Sometimes for example, there is the possibility that you can provide with some time to use the platform for data storage is free of charge. But when the limitation of data is, let's say, a free limitation of data is bigger than which was covered by the free license, then in the commercial version you can pay the much more the fees than you use at the beginning, from the beginning that you use the platform on the commercial level. Financial sustainability, let's say, is that we can use the different software, as I mentioned, to produce digital content, but also to find a different way how we can offer digital content, under some commercial license or to get some income from the digital content. So here is also the two risks. First one, that digitalization is usually based on the short-term funding sources. For example, in many cases, the Cultural Heritage Institution developed the digitalization project based on some fundraising project for digitalization, but without covering maintenance of digital assets. And the second risk is the challenges in balancing accessibility with monetization. This risk is mostly connected with this second approach when we use our digital content, and offer as some our services. So at the end, it is not easy task to create some balancing financial management of digital assets, because the visitor and people very often expected that all cultural content is free of charge, or if you offer this content, they expected that should be offered by affordable prices. So this is very often ethical issue for cultural institution, and to find some way how you can step by step or by small step to monetize some content, but in the same time to be dedicated to your core mission, which is connected with the public access of cultural content. So, in the sense of financial management of digital assets, there is also the question of main drivers of cost of digital assets, and there is the four main pillar how the costs are building. The first one is the cost of digitalization, and the drivers are human resources, equipment, and digital tools, for example, purchasing of software and similar things. The second one is the storage of digital content, and in the case of small pieces of digital content, for example, or some, let's say, content which is not too ambitious in the sense of multimedia, there is no question of storage of digital assets, because the cultural heritage institution can use the same servers or infrastructure which they use in usual way. But in the case of using, for example, immersive digital content, then the storage and service is high cost in your project. So the next one is the maintenance of digital assets, and drivers for this cost is level of this cost depend on kind of services which you use for the maintenance of digital assets, in-house or the external maintenance. Do you need additional staff for this task and similar? And the last one is the access platform. Which kind of platform you are using as a tool for accessibility of your digital content? And we always have open sources versus some commercial platform. What you can use always when you are build some project or you are thinking about monetization is just to list all costs based on these four main, let's say, dimension of digital assets, how much money, and then to strategically rethinking in which way you can create your financial management strategy related to the cost optimization. In a huge cultural heritage institution where you have, let's say, a lot of digital material, they are using some strategic tool which they called, for example, cost optimization sheet, which means that they will list all costs that they have, for example, for the maintenance and access of digital assets, what is the yearly cost of these activities, and how they can optimize or reduce this cost. Usually in the case of the Southeast Europe, we are not using this kind of strategical tool because in our cultural context and let's say the management context, the cultural institution, mostly financial issue of cultural institutions are mostly based and discussed in the financial department. But you can use this table, for example, as a project tool when you are developing some, let's say, project or a program for the digitalization. So when we discuss about monetization, we can look at this issue from the two perspectives. The first one, as I mentioned, is when what model we would like to have for purchasing digital tool. And the second one is the monetization model, which is connected with our pricing policy for the different digital content. And there is the two, let's say, traditional monetization model. One is the subscription-based model, and the second one is the freemium model, which I will explained on the next slide. And the subscription business model is the model in which consumer or your visitor or your user must pay the price at regional intervals for access the digital product and services. In the same time, this model also will be applied if you are purchasing some digital tools. So you will pay per some usual and regular time fees for using different digital tools and creative digital content. For example, this model very often is an example where the positive side of this model is that you can generate the predictable income and the transparent planning and budgeting of cost of digital assets. And from the other side, there is decreasing of accessibility of content, and all visitor maybe don't have to pay or don't want to pay because they have some different approach. As I mentioned, that the people expect that the public cultural institution can offer the free of charge the program and also digital content. You have to invest a lot of time in creating, let's say, some innovative strategy for packages and pricing levels for the different visitors, what can be free of charge and the similar things. And let's say, most difficult issue in the case of Southeast Europe Cultural Institution is managing personal data, contracts, digital contracts, and how you can administrate the micropayment, because still micropayment in the case of Serbia, for example, I think that some neighborhood country also shared the same experience, is quite difficult in administrative sense. The similar model is also per use model, and this is a method where you charge or somebody charge your institution digital content or using the software based on the level and capacity of using these services. For example, positive side of this model is that the user always have a clear understanding of value of using digital content, and they can very easily understand cost of services. But from the other side, there is a fluctuation in the income which can be generated by this model. Then the high cost during peak usage period or for material which is not interesting for audience or users. So per use, for example, is very often model which I know that apply in the libraries when they have the digital content or the digital book. They are often use this model for charging their digital services, purchasing of digital book. The next one is the component-based the business model, and in this model, monetization is based on the license fees and through the partner individual exploitation of result. So this is maybe a model which is very often apply in the case when some software is built by the project and by different collaborative partners, and then each partner can licensing the specific component of the software for their consumer or the visitor. So the positive side is that if you have the huge package of the different digital and the software tool, that you can using only blocks that you are needed. And contrary or the negative side of this model is that it is complicated to manage and to use in the long term. For example, very often it is very complicated to manage and to find some balancing model for exploration of intellectual property, for example, or how the cost for the maintenance and, for example, for the future development and updates of this software can be shared between the partners and how they will cover this cost in the future. As I mentioned, the next one is the freemium model, and the digital economy in general is based on the freemium model. This means that the user can use free of charge some part of software free of charge, or for producing some basic digital content or with some advertising or the name of the software, while premium pricing requires them to pay a monthly or annual fee for different improvements and different advanced digital tool. This kind of monetization has two positive characteristics. The first one, that it offers a high level of accessibility and free cultural content for user, and the negative side is the digital limitation to create the full content of or some advanced or to use some advanced digital tools. Most digital services, as I mentioned, and content models are based on this approach, and there is the different level of access and payment, but this model is very often for the user and visitor. It is very often frustrated because there is also in the background of this model that the company collect a lot of, let's say, data analytics, and based on data analytics, they're practically create the pricing levels. So never company will not put the free or the low level of price for the tools which is the most popular. they are using the data just to charge the let's say the price for the most popular digital, higher price for the most popular digital tools. The next one is the advertising model, and this model is also frustrating. This model you can find on the YouTube, and the YouTube is based on this model, and revenue is generating by displaying advertising message or pop-ups to user through to the producing or watching the content. And there is the different, for example, model how you can charge the cost of advertising model, pay per click or per impression, or the different affiliate marketing approach. So this model also offer the free content and high level of accessibility, but the negative side is that it is very frustrated for the user of content and visitor, and sometimes these ads are very, very aggressive. So, for example, if the content has duration, for example, 5 or 6 minutes, the ads and advertising message can be put 6 or 7 times. So YouTube also have a decrease of visitor, which is mostly, for example, caused by this advertising model. And now you have another services for this model, and this is that you can use the free content with advertising message, and if you pay to the platform, then you can use without advertising message. The next one, which I think it is most appropriated for the cultural institution, is the business collaboration with a partner or sponsor who provide funding in exchange the brand or some exclusive, for example, content, or because this is the part of their social responsibility strategy. And this model offer, again, high level of accessibility and free cultural content, but sometimes it requests, let's say, the long term in a negotiation with the business partner, how this content will be produced, and about branding issue on sponsorship, labeling, and the similar things. Because sometime business partner and can expect the, let's say, the high level of benefits from this business cooperation, which is not in accordance with the cultural mission of cultural heritage institution. For example, this business collaboration model can be also from the both sides when you're purchasing the digital tool, but also when you're producing digital content. And in Serbia, for example, when it was the Telenor Foundation and the Telenor company, they have the business collaboration in financing digitalization of cultural heritage in the different institutions. For example, they have several projects that they support in the Museum of Yugoslavia, where their support, for example, digitalization and adoption different content for the different user and visitor group. And this is very often model of cooperation between the company which work in the telecommunication or IT and the cultural heritage institution. But Business collaboration can be also made with startups, and then the different software tools can be some kind of prototyping their new services. So cultural heritage institutions are very, let's say, attractive at the moment for the company. So this should be known and to use when you make the negotiation with the company about some business collaboration. And the last one is the royalty-based model. They can be also used from the side of cultural institution, but also for as their pricing model. And this is the classical model where if you want to access to the different content, you should pay some percent of some fees. Or if you want to use the software and you create some content for that software, then they can be charged percent of sales of usage fees. So the same positive and negative sides are in like in the previous model. And in this model, because this is traditional model, where you pay the, let's say, the all content or all software, so this model can generate high income. And from the other side, negative aspect is the limited accessibility to content. And the next question, which is also important, is the how we funding digitalization and the creation of digital assets. And there is the different way how you can funding digital content, but also there is different level and complexity which you can produce, for example, in the different financing model. Usually a lot of institution, let's say almost institution, use the public funding as a tool for financing the digital assets. In many cases, there is no some systematically, let's say, approach what we finance and why we finance and what is the period in which we expected in cultural institution different outcomes. In many cases, this is very unstable financial resources because you never know when you apply to the ministry how much you will get as a grant. Sometimes you can request total amount which is necessary for a project, but you will just get 20%. In that case, you should rethinking all your project and to find is it possible accept this small amount and what you can produce for them, or rejected this kind of grant. The second one is the European international funds, the mostly Creative Europe and Horizon Europe, and with the international funds and European funds, there is the huge issue, as I mentioned, how you will update it and how you will maintenance this digital content and the software after the project is completed. Because if you remember, I mentioned this 4-dimension for calculation, the total cost of digitalization, and one is the maintenance after you produce some digital content or you get through the project some software. Private sponsorship and donation, I mentioned that there is the company which can have some interest in digitalize and finance digitalization of cultural heritage assets, because that is very close with the main mission of these companies. Sometimes they can put this approach in the social responsibility strategy. The next one is the partnership with the tech and technological company. You know that Google has their own program like Google Arts, and they're using the different digital tool free of charge and make cooperation with the cultural institution to offer open, accessible digital content. But there is also the small tech company, for example, they can be local or the regional, which can be also interesting to support and to be in partnership with the cultural heritage institution. They can use, for example, they can provide, for example, free of charge digital services, or they can provide this account services, in-kind contribution, or you can develop with them some joint project. What is the differences here between the partnership and collaboration with the digital technology firm? In the first, partnership means that you will cooperate with technological companies in the long term, and the interest from the both sides should be balanced and should be, let's say, adopted to the cultural mission and to the social responsibility mission of the company. In the case of collaboration, this is only, let's say, the cooperation partnership with some very clear aim and limited in the sense of time and duration, and collaboration with the company is always, let's say, set up for some project tasks or project activities. The next one, how you can also funding digitalization is by your own income. And this income can come from the ticket sales for some digital and multimedia part of exhibitional cultural program, membership program, or the fees, for example, for access some part of digital content. The next one is the crowdfunding and community support. For example, there is also a program which can be fundraising on the Kickstarter. This is most popular platform for the fundraising, but you have in mind that the amount which you can raise for the digitalization is up to 3,000 euros in the case of Southeast Europe institution, and this is some kind of average. We have one research on crowdfunding platforms for funding cultural program, and mostly the main reason why this model cannot be successful is the low level of philanthropy and, let's say, low level of understanding this model as a tool for financing cultural program. The second one is the Parthian, and in that case, I didn't find that any kind of institution used this model for funding digitalization, but in the case of a person who are working in cultural institution, they using this model, let's say, for offering the digital content. That means that you are offering some piece of your digital content, for example, story, text, picture, and similar, in compensation with small contribution for the content if you are satisfied with this content. This model is also based on the micro payment, and sometimes it is difficult to be implemented in our cultural institution from the administrative reason. Here is, as I mentioned, the side, another side of monetization is when we look from the side of cultural institution and how they create pricing model for digital content. And you see here that we have the similar, let's say, the model of monetization. Maybe this one, dynamic pricing, is interesting. When you are charging different prices for your content based of user demographics, access level, then you can create the different discount rate for educational institution, higher fees for commercial use, and similar. And I would like just to say that this licensing model, which is very familiar also with the royalty model of monetization, is at the moment present in cultural heritage institution, but they are not using this model, for example, for classical digital content. If you are going in archive or library, or you want to reuse some material, you will pay some small fees for using this material and to get permission. So this is end of my presentation, and I would like to hear from you if you have some question.
Thank you very much, dear Hristina. It was really detailed representation of different models of funding, and listening to you, I was, thinking who should be responsible for, making strategic approach to this, because I was thinking that because museums have such different digital assets, they can use different monetization models for each asset. For example, for the mobile application, it can be based on advertising model. A virtual tour can be based on the business model. It can be, done in collaboration with some sponsor. So, testing out different models for different digital assets, of course, requires evaluation, to look back and see what was easy about this model. Did it work for this digital asset? And then, maybe if you have some experience of impact evaluation studies, because these are all new things. Yeah, museums have only recently started using, and especially it was amplified during the pandemic, because museums wanted to have this presence with their audience and connection. So it would be interesting for me to look into, how we strategically do this issue and how we also evaluate the usage of the models, what works, what doesn't work, under which circumstances, for which digital assets, etc. Maybe if you have some comments, it's more a comment than a question.
Okay. This issue is very new for the cultural institution, not only in the field of heritage. But when I discuss about the digital economy and this monetization model, I always have in the mind that the digital economy is the beyond predatory economy, which means that you are very often will try to use some digital content, but when you want to broaden your interests, you should pay. I don't think that this model can be applied in cultural institution in totally. This is some, let's say, the model how they are functioning and what is the cost and revenue streaming. But in the case of cultural institution, the first step is to look what is from the point of flow and from the point of administrative issue possible to implement in cultural institution, because in many cases they are public institutions. So maybe if some public institutions is owner of the foundation, this model can be implemented in the foundation. So the foundation can be legal entity, which is the, let's say, the revenue stream for cultural institutions. So this will be the first step. The second one will be to testing how your visitor and your user react on the different pricing model. As I mentioned, the huge problem with the cultural institution is that the visitor, for example, museum, library, and like this, expect that the services are mostly free or with low charges. So in that case, you should be very careful, because nobody want to have some negative reaction from the visitors, because the one negative reaction through social media is, much more negative attention to your institution. What I think that can be the way where the cultural institution can monetize the digital assets is the business sector, and the cooperation, collaboration with the business sector and development of commercial services. For example, a lot of creative industry enterprise, gaming company, and similar company using heritage and the cultural digital content as an element, for example, for producing their product. For example, in the gaming industry, or company which want to produce some multimedia content, they can use for example, 3D model from the cultural institution. So this is a way where I see the cooperation and monetization strategy of cultural heritage institution. This is, I don't know, did I answer on that? So at the level, if you, from the formal point of view, if you ask me from the formal point of view, who is the responsible to create or to give some strategic framework for monetization, at the moment, this is the cultural heritage institution by themselves. So in the case at the cultural policy model, we don't have some interest from the Ministry of Culture to develop some strategical framework. And existing laws on cultural heritage institution, they are allow to raise the money from the different commercial, let's say, resources. For example, by selling products, by selling book, by selling services, and like this. So this is only level in which the Ministry of Culture or at the national level it is created some framework for monetization of digital assets in cultural heritage institutions.
Yes, I'm encouraging all our participants to join the debate. I know that different institutions are on different level in terms of having digital assets and using them for different experiences, products, and services. Maybe also more a comment. I was wondering in terms of a public role of a museum, which is a public institution and cannot easily absorb the costs of a new service by increasing the price of the ticket, for example. That's much easier for private museums. They can, if they offer, for example, new immersive experience, they just, for this specific exhibition, make the tickets more expensive. But when you're a public institution, I'm wondering how we could educate our audience members that the thing which they are enjoying for free actually costs money and that someone had to pay for this money, whether, ministry or a project, or just that we are uh, kind of openly talking about our public role, but saying that the new experience is also costing money.
I think this is a very, let's say, the long-term task to educate and to rise different culture of consuming, for example, and using the cultural content. In the case of country like Serbia, where the people don't have a lot of money to pay the different cultural services, it is quite challenging, the task. So this is the reason why I always said cooperation with the business sector is much better strategy for monetization, but also for diversification of resources of cultural heritage. But some person should be in charge for this task. So let's say there is a lot of systematic, the gap. It is very nice to say, okay, you can fundraising for your program, but somebody should write the project, fundraising, implementing, this is like a romantical, view how we can improve financial policy of cultural heritage institution. But in reality, it is very difficult task. And maybe the cultural heritage institution should be focused on one strategical, for example, to develop one strategical alternative, let's say, way for fundraising for digital assets. For example, it is necessary, to invest time and to explore, for example, let's say, capacity of cultural institution and the mission and the strategy. And from the other side, how you can use all of these resources in the cultural heritage institution to develop the new monetization model and what will be much more adaptable to your condition and to your case. There is no, I am not a person and you didn't saw here they fundraising 3 million and like this, because I am not a person that there is some template which you can use and apply in your cultural institution. Development of monetization model is the strategically process for the cultural heritage institutions. So they have to assume, for example, what is their resources and how they can use this kind of resources. So like you are creating program orientation or your the cultural mission. This is the same process. Also funding the program and build the new monetization model. What I didn't mention is that the key aspect of digital monetization is economy of value, which means you will price the small prices, but you need to have the broader audience. So the digital model is contrary to traditional economy. In traditional economy, you can raise the price, and to have the small value of your services. But in the digital economy, this is the different model. So if you are focused on the user and visitors, you have to know that you need to have the huge value if you want to raise the money for your program.
Interesting. We don't have any questions, so I was wondering if you want to show the participants questionnaire, which is still open and collects answers.
I send you the word if you want to open, because I have a problem with the share screen.
Leila, do you want to do it or I'll do it? So do you see?
Yes, my presentation followed these questionnaires. So I would like to ask the participant, do they have some experience in monetization, for example, digital content from their institution, and what is the experience?
Let's see if someone will be brave not to call the names. Milena, Pep, Geza, Andreas.
Well, unfortunately, no, since I have been asked to say, but we had actually we have developed 8-9 digital applications for the museum. We also have platform or some kind of digital content that is in connection with our website and some programs website, but unfortunately we were not able to monetize it in any way. It is complicated being a public institution. It is also a completely different approach when you want to actually monetize something. We have problems when we want to now, since the Google changed, when we want to change the status of our Google account and Google Play account as well, we have difficulties paying, putting in all the data, like bank cards and everything. So it is really tempting. Usually someone does that as a private person for the museum, because it really is hard for us to overcome these barriers that exists in this digital e-pay world still, unfortunately. I do hope that things will change and that we are going to be able to function in a different way. What you, Hristina, mentioned is also something that I think it is necessary to have for the public institution, and that is in a way, I will share my thoughts with you, that is in a way an idea for me to have like a sister organization for the museum that would be able to do all these financial things that museums as a public institutions are not able to do. So I think that at this moment it looks like a possible solution, but let's hope that in the future the situation and laws and the procedure and bureaucracy will change in a way that will make us as public institutions be completely free and not to rely on anyone else.
Yes, especially in the Balkan region, we are only, starting to think about these issues. So it's excellent that we have this webinar to actually think about all the different models that we can use. And just as Hristina said, choose one and test and try out a model on a specific digital asset.
If I can mention, there is the same problem not only for the digital asset, but also if you want to fundraising or to cooperate with the business sector, it is much easier at the moment to have the sister organization. And in many cases, the cultural institution are funder of the foundation, which is also non-profit. So they can cooperate with the business sector, but also for the digital issue through the foundation, because the public institution and foundation has the mission. They have the public mission. Just the first one is in the system of budgetary, the funding, and the second one is outside of budgetary system of funding. So in the case of West institution, cultural institution, which used, for example, and commercialized digital assets, in many cases they don't have the status of public institute, such like in Serbia or in the region, like budgetary users, and they are much more closer to the public foundations. So this is the differences. And in that case, they don't have some administrative barriers for collecting the micropayment, which is the crucial for digital assets if you are oriented toward the final user and visitor, and which we have in the case of Serbia and the neighborhood countries. So I didn't mention maybe, but you can follow. There is the two strategy also. If you look at the another side, this is the first strategy. Do we want to focus in monetization to final users, which is much more risky strategy, or we want to business strategy, which is my favorite strategy because it is the lower risk for that, and the cultural heritage institution always can find some topic, and idea or program which can be, let's say, which can be interesting for the business sector.
Aida, please unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I was saying that people in the chat are saying that the webinar was really useful, and thanking you, Hristina, and the Shift Project for the organization. So thank you for starting to build the knowledge base around the monetization. I wanted again to remind people that we would really love to hear from you in terms of filling in the questionnaire, because we are researching different options for the shift technologies. What are the possibilities of, in the future monetizing some of these services? So in the chat, I will post two links. One is for the evaluation of the webinar, because we are also asking there if you would like to propose a new topic for the webinar and how you enjoyed this webinar. And the second one will be for the monetization of the shift technologies questionnaire, which is still open. The initial deadline was 31st of March, but we prolonged it because we need more answers from you. And if Hristina, if you want to say something for the end.
I don't know. I think that maybe this presentation will inspire the person from Cultural Heritage Institution to rethinking about financial issue in total in Cultural Heritage Institution. This digital is only one part of this huge issue, and to understand that financial management in Cultural Heritage Institution is also strategical approach. So whatever they are using budgetary resources, or they want to use the budgetary resources on some other resources, always they have be in, let's say, the strategically thinking. And I would like to see, and I will be very thankful if they want to share and share the experience if they try, maybe unsuccessful, model of digital monetization, because I would be interesting to make the interview with this person or institution. You know, it depends. Whatever it is, successful or unsuccessful model of monetization.
Yes, because we can learn equally from unsuccessful attempts as well.
Yes.
So if you would like one-on-one chat about your experience, please reach out. You can write to us in the Balkan Museum Network, to the Shift project on the addresses, or directly to Hristina. You have several options. We will, of course, share Hristina's email address as well if you would like, potential collaboration or something in the future regarding, strategies, policies, research on this topic. If not, I will kindly thank you all for your time. It's been an hour and a half. The time flies when it's full of content. So follow the Shift project for the new developments, and stay well and stay in touch. All the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.